8 weeks of lessons, the black woman who taught the billionaire about forever. He was a billionaire who had everything except a reason to come home. She was a chef who taught strangers how to cook. When Nathan walked into Veronica's cooking class, he thought he'd learn to make risotto. Instead, he learned what $4 billion couldn't buy, and walked away from it all. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think about the last time a story made you feel something real. Made your heart race. Made tears fall without permission. Made you remember why being human is so beautifully complicated. That's what we do here at CJ Stories. Whether you're returning or just discovering us, welcome home. This is your safe space for tears, laughter, hope, and everything in between. Today's story will take you somewhere unexpected. It'll make you think. It'll make you feel. And I promise you, you won't see the ending coming. But here's the thing, the magic only works if you stay till the very end. No skipping. Just you, me, and a story that might just change how you see the world. If it moves you, let me know you're here, subscribe, like, and share this with someone whose heart needs touching today. Ready? Let's step into today's story. The email arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in early September 2024, and Nathan Miller, 36 years old and worth $3.2 billion, stared at it like it might contain the answer to a question he hadn't known how to ask. Corporate team building cooking class, spot still available. He'd been scrolling through his inbox, deleting promotional emails he'd somehow ended up on mailing lists for, when this one made his thumb pause. Nathan sat in his downtown Seattle penthouse, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the city lights scattered below like fallen stars, and he couldn't remember the last time he'd cooked anything that didn't involve a microwave and takeout containers. For years since his divorce. For years of building his tech company into something that made headlines and competitors nervous. For years of telling himself that work was enough, that success filled whatever space his ex-wife had left empty when she'd walked out in 2020. The penthouse kitchen, all marble countertops and high-end appliances, existed mostly as a showpiece. His housekeeper kept it immaculate. Nathan used it to store expensive scotch and the occasional protein shake. He clicked the email. Hart's Kitchen, Capitol Hill. 8-week program. Hands-on instruction. All skill levels welcome. Something about those last 3 words got him. All skill levels welcome. Not exclusive. Not elite. Just open. Nathan registered before he could talk himself out of it. 3 days later, on Thursday evening, September 5th, he stood outside a brick building on Capitol Hill, watching through the large front windows as people filtered inside. The space looked warm. Lived in. Real. Copper pots hung from ceiling racks, and long wooden tables were arranged in a U-shape, each station set with ingredients and tools. He was wearing jeans and a plain black Henley, having learned years ago that showing up to normal places in tailored suits made people nervous. His driver had dropped him 2 blocks away at Nathan's request. The woman at the front desk smiled when he walked in. Her name tag read Jessica. First time, she asked. That obvious? You have the look. She handed him an apron. Don't worry. Chef Veronica makes everyone feel like they belong here. Head on in. We start in 5 minutes. Nathan tied the apron and moved into the main kitchen space. 12 stations, most already occupied. He took one near the back, running his hand over the smooth wooden counter. Everything smelled like garlic and fresh bread and something sweet he couldn't identify. All right, everyone. Welcome. The voice came from the front of the room, and Nathan looked up. She stood there in chef's whites, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun, skin the warm brown of his favorite coffee, and when she smiled at the gathered class, something in Nathan's chest did a strange little flip he hadn't felt in years. I'm Chef Veronica Hart, she said. Her voice had this quality to it, confident but not harsh, welcoming but clearly in charge. For the next 8 weeks, we're going to learn to cook. Not just follow recipes. Actually cook. Understand ingredients. Trust our instincts. Make food that feeds more than just our bodies. She was 34, though Nathan didn't know that yet. Didn't know that she'd opened this place 6 years ago with a small business loan and a dream that had terrified her. Didn't know that her mother called her every Sunday and asked when she was going to find a good man and settle down. Didn't know that she'd decided maybe she wasn't built for that kind of settling. What he did know, watching her move between the stations with easy grace, was that he wanted to hear more of whatever she had to say. Tonight, we're making risotto, Veronica continued. Show of hands, who's attempted risotto before? 3 hands went up. Nathan stayed down. Risotto has a reputation for being difficult. Fussy. High maintenance. Her smile turned playful. Sounds like some people I've dated. Laughter rippled through the class. Nathan found himself grinning. But here's the truth, Veronica said, moving to her demonstration station at the front. Risotto just needs attention. Patience. You can't rush it. You can't ignore it. You have to stay present. Keep stirring. Keep adding liquid little by little. Trust the process. She began demonstrating, her hands moving with practiced certainty. Onions sizzling in butter. Arborio rice toasting until it smelled nutty and rich. White wine deglazing the pan with a satisfying hiss. The key is the stock, she said, ladling golden liquid into her pan. Add it slowly. Let each addition absorb before you add more. This isn't a race. This is a relationship. You're coaxing the rice into giving you its best self. Nathan watched her stir, the wooden spoon moving in steady circles, and found himself thinking about patience. About presence. About how long it had been since he'd stayed still long enough to coax anything into its best self. Now it's your turn, Veronica said. I'll come around to each station. Don't panic. Don't overthink. Just start. The room filled with the sounds of cooking. Butter melting. Onions hitting hot pans. Nervous laughter and quiet concentration. Nathan started dicing his onion, trying to remember the knife technique she demonstrated. His cuts were uneven. Chunky. He frowned at them. First time with a chef's knife? He looked up. Veronica stood at his station, her dark eyes warm with something that wasn't quite amusement but wasn't pity either. Is it that obvious? Nathan asked. Your grip's too tight. You're strangling it. She moved closer, and he caught her scent, vanilla and something herbal, rosemary maybe. May I? He nodded. Her hand covered his, adjusting his fingers on the knife handle. Her touch was warm, confident, and gone too quickly. There. Let the knife do the work. You're just guiding it. She demonstrated, her hand moving over his for 3 smooth cuts, then stepped back. Nathan tried again. Better this time. More even. Much better, Veronica said, and the approval in her voice did something stupid to his pride. What's your name? Nathan. Well, Nathan, you're a fast learner. Keep going. I'll check back. She moved to the next station, and Nathan found himself watching her reflection in the stainless steel backsplash. The way she leaned in to help an older woman with her stock temperature. The way she laughed at something a younger guy said. The way she commanded the room without ever raising her voice. He forced his attention back to his risotto. Added the rice. Let it toast. Poured in the wine and watched it bubble away. Started with the stock, ladling it in slowly like she'd instructed. The rhythm of it felt meditative. Stir. Wait. Add. Stir. Wait. Add. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. Phones away during class, Veronica called out, not looking at him but somehow knowing anyway. Whatever it is can wait 45 minutes. Nathan pulled out his phone, saw 6 messages from his VP of operations, and silenced it. Put it face down on the counter behind his cutting board. The world didn't end. His company didn't collapse. He kept stirring. 20 minutes later, his risotto had transformed. Creamy. Rich. The rice tender but still with that slight bite in the center. Beautiful, Veronica said, appearing at his elbow again. She dipped a clean spoon into his pan, tasted it, and nodded. Really beautiful, Nathan. You trusted the process. I had a good teacher. Smooth talker, she said, but she was smiling. All right, everyone. Finish up. We'll plate and taste in 5 minutes. They gathered around the long center table, 12 people with 12 pans of risotto in varying degrees of success. Veronica moved between them, tasting, offering feedback that was honest but never cruel. When she got to Nathan's, she took a larger bite this time. You added the Parmesan at the end like I showed you, she said. Yes. And you finished it with butter. You said it makes it glossy. It does. She set down her spoon. This is excellent for a first attempt. You really paid attention. Their eyes met, and Nathan felt that strange flip in his chest again. Stronger this time. I pay attention when something matters, he said. Veronica held his gaze for a beat longer than necessary, something flickering across her face that might have been surprise or interest or both. Then she smiled and moved on to the next station. The class wrapped up at 8:30. People lingered, asking questions, washing dishes, talking about their risottos like proud parents. Nathan cleaned his station methodically, in no rush to leave. You don't have to do that, Veronica said, walking past with an armful of dish towels. Jessica handles cleanup. I don't mind. First time someone said that. She paused. Most people can't get out of here fast enough. Most people probably have somewhere better to be. And you don't? Nathan looked around the kitchen. At the copper pots and the warm lighting and the lingering smell of garlic and butter. At her, standing there with dish towels in her arms and flour somehow smudged on her cheek. Not particularly, he said. Veronica studied him for a moment, and Nathan had the unsettling feeling that she saw more than he'd intended to show. Well, she said finally. I'm here every Thursday evening for the next 7 weeks if you decide to come back. I'll be here. Confident. Just honest. She smiled then, a real one that reached her eyes and made them crinkle at the corners. See you next week, Nathan. He left the building and walked the 2 blocks to where his driver waited. Slid into the back seat of the town car and checked his phone. 14 messages now. 3 missed calls. None of it felt urgent anymore. "How was your evening, Mr. Miller?" his driver asked. Nathan looked out the window at the Seattle streets sliding past, thinking about patience and presence and the way Veronica Hart's hand had felt over his. "Educational," he said. That night, in his pristine penthouse kitchen, Nathan opened his refrigerator and actually looked at what was inside. Takeout containers. Protein shakes. Expensive scotch that technically didn't need refrigeration. He thought about risotto. About coaxing something into its best self. He thought about next Thursday. And for the first time in 4 years, Nathan Miller went to bed thinking about something other than quarterly reports and market shares and the empire he'd built to fill the empty spaces. He thought about dark eyes and confident hands and a voice that made patience sound like the most important skill in the world. 7 weeks left. 7 more Thursday evenings. Nathan set an alarm on his phone. Blocked out the time. Marked it as unavailable in his calendar with a note that just said, Hart's Kitchen. His executive assistant would have questions. He didn't care. Some things, Nathan was learning, were worth paying attention to. Some things mattered. 2 weeks later, mid-September 2024, Nathan had stopped pretending he was coming to Hart's Kitchen just for the cooking lessons. Week 2 had been pasta. Fresh pasta, made by hand, the dough coming together under his palms in a way that felt almost therapeutic. Veronica had stood at his station for 7 minutes that night, showing him how to feel when the dough was right. Not too dry. Not too sticky. Just perfect. "It's all about touch," she'd said, her fingers pressing into the dough beside his. "You have to trust what your hands are telling you." Week 3, braising. Low and slow, she'd called it. Teaching them patience again, how good things couldn't be rushed. Nathan had braised short ribs that fell apart at the touch of a fork, and when Veronica tasted them, she'd closed her eyes. "That's it," she'd said. "That's exactly it." He'd felt ridiculously proud. Now it was week 4, September 26th, and the class was learning sauces. Mother sauces, Veronica called them. The foundation of French cooking. Nathan arrived 15 minutes early, like he had for the past 2 weeks. He'd started doing this, telling himself it was just to get settled, to review the recipe cards Veronica left at each station. But really, it was to watch her prepare. She moved through the kitchen like she was dancing with it. Checking ingredients. Adjusting burners. Tasting stocks and adjusting seasonings with pinches of salt she measured by instinct alone. Her chef's whites were always crisp at the start of class, her hair pulled back in that same neat bun, and Nathan had developed this deeply inconvenient habit of noticing details. The way she hummed sometimes when she cooked. The reading glasses she put on when checking recipe cards. The small silver bracelet on her left wrist that she never took off. "You're early again," Veronica said without turning around. She was at the stove, stirring something in a copper pot. Traffic was light. Traffic is never light in Seattle at 6 p.m. Nathan smiled, moving to his usual station. Third from the left, back row. "Maybe I'm just eager to learn." She glanced over her shoulder at him, and there was amusement in her eyes. "How's the risotto game at home?" "I've made it 3 times since that first class." 3 times? She turned fully now, eyebrows raised. "That's commitment. You said it was about building a relationship with the process. I'm a thorough person. I'm starting to see that." She wiped her hands on her apron. "How'd they turn out?" "The first one was too salty. The second one I overcooked. The third one was pretty good." "Pretty good?" Veronica moved closer to his station. "That's honest. Most people would have claimed perfection by attempt 2. I don't see the point in lying about risotto." She laughed then, a real laugh that made something warm bloom in Nathan's chest. "Most honest thing I've heard all week." Other students started filtering in. Veronica greeted each one by name, asked about their week, remembered details from previous classes. She was good at this, Nathan realized. Not just the cooking. The people part. Making everyone feel seen. Class started at 7 sharp. Tonight's focus was hollandaise. "This is a sauce with a reputation," Veronica announced from her demonstration station. "It's temperamental. It breaks. It curdles. It makes grown adults want to throw whisks across kitchens." "Sounds like my ex-wife," someone called out, and the class chuckled. "Sounds like most of our exes," Veronica said smoothly. "But here's what I want you to understand about hollandaise. Yes, it's finicky. But it's also honest. It tells you immediately when something's wrong. Temperature too high? It breaks. Whisking too slow? It breaks. Not paying attention? It absolutely breaks." She began her demonstration. Egg yolks whisked over a double boiler. Clarified butter added in a thin stream. The sauce thickening, becoming glossy and perfect. The key is constant motion and moderate heat. You're creating an emulsion. Convincing fat and water to stay together even though they don't naturally want to. Sound familiar? More laughter. Nathan watched her hands. The practiced whisking. The steady stream of butter. The way she knew, without checking a thermometer, when the temperature was exactly right. "Your turn," Veronica said. And remember, when it breaks, because it will, you start over. That's the lesson. Breaking isn't failure. Giving up is. Nathan set up his double boiler. Separated his eggs with more confidence than he'd had 3 weeks ago. Started whisking the yolks over the gentle steam. His phone buzzed. He'd started leaving it face down during class now, volume off. Whatever crisis his company was having could survive 90 minutes. The egg yolks began to thicken. He reached for his butter. Slower, Veronica said, appearing beside him. You're rushing it. Nathan adjusted, letting the butter drip in rather than pour. Better. Now keep whisking. Don't stop. She stayed at his station, watching. Her presence felt different tonight. Closer. He could smell her perfume under the kitchen scents. Something light. Citrus maybe. You're getting better at this, she said quietly. The knife work. The timing. You're not just following instructions anymore. You're understanding them. I have a good teacher. You said that last time. Still true. His sauce was coming together. Thick and smooth and exactly the right pale yellow. Nathan, Veronica said, and something in her voice made him look up from his whisking. What do you do? For work, I mean. It was the first personal question she'd asked him. In 4 weeks of classes, she'd been friendly but professional. Helpful but boundaried. I run a tech company, he said, keeping it vague. Software development. Cloud infrastructure. Boring stuff. You don't seem bored by it. I'm not. But it's not particularly interesting to talk about at a cooking class. Veronica tilted her head, studying him. You're different from most students I get. How so? Most people come here because they want to impress someone. A date. A spouse. Some specific person they're trying to win over. She paused. You're not trying to impress anyone. Maybe I'm trying to impress you. It came out more honest than he'd intended. More revealing. Veronica's eyes widened slightly, and then she smiled. Not her teacher's smile. Something else. Something that made Nathan's pulse kick up. Well, she said. Your hollandaise is perfect. So mission accomplished. She moved to the next station, and Nathan stood there with his whisk and his perfect sauce and the distinct feeling that something had just shifted. The class ended at 8:30. Nathan helped with cleanup again, washing his equipment while other students filtered out. It had become his routine. Stay late. Take his time. Find excuses to linger. Tonight, by 8:50, the kitchen was empty except for him and Veronica. Jessica had left at 8:45, waving goodnight. You don't have to keep doing this, Veronica said, wiping down the main prep counter. The staying late thing. I know. So why do you? Nathan set down the pot he'd been drying. Turned to face her fully. Honestly? Please. Because I like it here. The kitchen. The cooking. He hesitated. The company. Veronica stopped wiping. Met his eyes across the counter. Nathan, I should tell you something. His stomach dropped. Here it comes, he thought. The professional boundary speech. The kind but firm letdown. I don't usually do this, she continued. Get friendly with students. I keep it professional. It's easier that way. Cleaner. Okay. But you're making that difficult. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm not asking you to stop. She set down her cloth. I'm just saying you're making it difficult. And I'm not entirely sure I mind. The kitchen felt very quiet suddenly. Just the hum of the refrigerators and the distant sound of traffic outside. There's a coffee place 2 blocks from here, Nathan said. Opens at 6 a.m. Makes the best lattes in Capitol Hill, according to my research. Your research? I like to be thorough, remember? Veronica smiled. What are you asking me, Nathan? I'm asking if you'd want to get coffee sometime. Not here. Not as teacher and student. Just as 2 people who apparently both appreciate good lattes. She was quiet for a moment, and Nathan's heart was doing this ridiculous hammering thing that made him feel like he was 16 instead of 36. I have to be here by 5:30 most mornings, Veronica finally said. Prep for lunch service. We do a small lunch menu 3 days a week. So that's a no? That's a, I'm free at 6:15 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays if you're serious about this 6 a.m. thing. Nathan pulled out his phone. Tuesday the 1st? October? That's 5 days from now. Too soon? Veronica shook her head slowly, and that smile was back. The real one. Tuesday works. They stood there in the quiet kitchen, and Nathan thought about emulsions. About convincing things that didn't naturally go together to stay together anyway. I should go, he said, not moving. Probably. Let you close up. That would be responsible. Neither of them moved. Veronica, Nathan said. Can I ask you something? You're full of questions tonight. Do you feel this too? Whatever this is. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Yeah, I feel it. Okay, good. I just needed to know I wasn't imagining it. You're not. Nathan grabbed his jacket from the hook by his station. Headed for the door. Turned back. 6:15 Tuesday morning. The coffee place on Pine Street? Slate Coffee Roasters, Veronica said. I'll be there. I'm looking forward to it. Nathan? Yeah? Bring your appetite. They make incredible almond croissants. He smiled. I'm thorough, remember? I'll do my research. Nathan left Hart's Kitchen and walked to his car. He'd started driving himself to class, parking a few blocks away, enjoying the walk. The September night was cool, rain threatening but not quite falling. Classic Seattle. His phone had 17 messages. 2 missed calls from his CFO. A text from his executive assistant asking if his Thursday evening meetings were permanently canceled or just postponed. He texted back, permanently canceled. Block every Thursday evening from 6 to 9:30 until further notice. The response came immediately, everything okay? Better than okay, Nathan typed. Then deleted it. Typed instead, everything's fine. Just prioritizing differently. He drove home to his penthouse, rode the elevator up 34 floors, walked into his pristine kitchen and actually saw it for what it was. Empty. Unused. Beautiful and useless. Nathan opened his refrigerator. He'd gone grocery shopping over the weekend. Actually gone to Pike Place Market, walked through the stalls, picked out ingredients. Fresh eggs. Good butter. Arborio rice. Heavy cream. Parmesan. Lemons. His kitchen was starting to look like someone lived in it. He made himself hollandaise at 10 p.m. on a Thursday night because he could. Because he wanted to. Because Veronica had taught him how, and practicing felt like holding on to something good. The sauce came together perfectly. He poured it over roasted asparagus and sat at his kitchen island, the first time he'd actually sat there for a meal, and ate slowly. Tasted each bite. Stayed present. Tuesday morning, October 1st, 2024, Nathan woke at 5 a.m. without an alarm. Showered. Dressed in jeans and a navy sweater. Drove to Capitol Hill through empty streets and parked 3 blocks from Slate Coffee Roasters. He was there at 6:10. Veronica arrived at 6:13, wearing jeans and a leather jacket, her hair down for the first time he'd seen. It fell past her shoulders in dark waves. You're early, she said. Traffic was light. She laughed. That real laugh he was becoming addicted to. Come on. Let's get coffee before the morning rush hits. They ordered at the counter. Veronica got a cappuccino, extra foam. Nathan got an Americano. They both got almond croissants because Veronica had been right, they looked incredible. Where do you want to sit? Nathan asked. Outside. I spend so much time in kitchens. I like fresh air when I can get it. They sat at a small table on the sidewalk. The city was waking up around them. Early commuters. Delivery trucks. The smell of rain on pavement even though it had stopped hours ago. So, Veronica said, breaking off a piece of croissant. Tell me the real story. 36-year-old man who runs a tech company decides to take beginner cooking classes on Thursday nights. Why? You know I'm 36? I have registration forms with birthdays. Don't look so surprised. Nathan smiled. Fair enough. The real story is pretty simple. I realized I didn't know how to do something basic. Something fundamental. And I was tired of not knowing. That's it? That's most of it. What's the rest of it? He looked at her over his coffee cup. I was lonely. I didn't realize how lonely until I wasn't anymore. Veronica's expression softened. The cooking class did that? You did that. She didn't look away. Didn't deflect. Just nodded slowly. I'm going to be honest with you, Nathan. I don't do this. Date students. Mix professional and personal. I have rules. I respect that. But I'm also 34 years old, and I'm tired of rules that keep me from good things just because they're complicated. For what it's worth, I'm done with your class in 4 weeks. Then I'm just a guy who knows how to make risotto. And hollandaise. And hollandaise. Veronica smiled. My mama calls me every Sunday. Asks when I'm going to settle down. Find a good man. Give her grandbabies. What do you tell her? I tell her I'm busy building a business. That I don't have time for relationships. That I'm fine on my own. Are you? Fine on your own? I was, Veronica said quietly. Until some stubborn guy started showing up early to class and staying late and making perfect hollandaise on his first try. Second try. The first one broke. You started over. That's what mattered. They sat there as the sun came up properly, painting Capitol Hill in golden light. Drank their coffee. Ate their croissants. Talked about everything and nothing. She told him about opening Hart's Kitchen 6 years ago. The terror and exhilaration of it. The small business loan she was still paying off. The satisfaction of teaching people to feed themselves and their families. He told her about his company. About building it from nothing after his divorce. About using work to fill spaces that needed filling. About forgetting, somewhere along the way, what he was working for. What are you working for now? Veronica asked. I'm starting to figure that out, Nathan said, looking at her. I think maybe it's not just about building empires. Maybe it's about building a life worth living. That's very philosophical for 6:45 in the morning. You bring it out in me. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and sighed. I have to get to the kitchen. Prep starts at 7. Can I walk you? It's 2 blocks. I know. They walked slowly, talking about the upcoming weekend. Veronica had a catering event on Saturday. Nathan had a board meeting he was dreading. Normal things. Real things. The kind of conversation that felt easy and right. At the door to Hart's kitchen, Veronica turned to face him. Same time next week, she asked. Tuesday at 6:15? It's a standing date if you want it to be. I want it to be, Nathan said. Veronica reached out, squeezed his hand once, and then disappeared into her kitchen. Nathan walked back to his car with the warmth of her hand still on his. Drove to his office building downtown. Rode the elevator to the 20th floor where his company took up 3 full floors. Walked past his executive assistant's desk. Good morning, Mr. Miller. Your 7:30 is waiting in the conference room. Thanks, Patricia. And Patricia? Yes? Clear my Tuesday mornings. 6 to 8 a.m. Every week. Another recurring meeting? Nathan thought about cappuccinos with extra foam and almond croissants and dark eyes that saw him as more than just a CEO. Something like that, he said. 4 more weeks of cooking class left. But maybe, Nathan thought, this was just the beginning of something that would take much longer to perfect. Something worth the patience. Something worth the time. Something worth learning how to make right. By late October 2024, Nathan Miller had restructured his entire life around Tuesday mornings and Thursday evenings. 6 weeks into the cooking class. 6 Tuesday morning coffee dates that had turned into breakfast dates that had turned into the highlight of his week. The 8-week program was winding down, with only 2 classes remaining, and Nathan had started dreading the end in a way that made his chest tight. Thursday evening, October 24th, week 7. The second to last class. Tonight's lesson was dessert. Chocolate soufflé. Veronica stood at the front of the kitchen in her chef's whites, and Nathan couldn't stop watching the way her hands moved as she demonstrated the folding technique for the egg whites. Gentle, she was saying. You want to incorporate air, not deflate it. Think of it like a delicate conversation. You're not forcing anything. You're inviting the ingredients to come together. Nathan had learned, over 6 weeks, that Veronica talked about cooking the way other people talked about philosophy or art. Everything meant something deeper. Every technique had a life lesson attached. He'd also learned that she took her coffee with extra foam, that she had a small scar on her left hand from a kitchen accident in culinary school, that her mother's name was Diana and she called her every Sunday at 2 p.m. without fail, and that when Veronica laughed, really laughed, she threw her head back and didn't care who was watching. He'd learned he was completely in love with her. The realization had hit him last Tuesday, sitting across from her at their usual table outside Slate Coffee Roasters. She'd been telling him about a catering disaster from the weekend, a bride who'd changed her menu 3 times the day of the wedding, and Nathan had just looked at her and known. This was it. She was it. 36 years old, and he'd finally found the thing that mattered more than quarterly earnings and market share. Nathan, you're staring at your egg whites like they personally offended you, Veronica said, suddenly at his station. Everything okay? He looked up. The kitchen was bustling around them, but she was focused entirely on him, that little crease of concern between her eyebrows. I'm good. Just thinking. About soufflés? Among other things. Her expression softened. We still on for Tuesday? Always. Good. She glanced around to make sure no one was paying attention, then leaned in slightly. Because I've been thinking maybe we could extend it past breakfast. There's a new exhibit at the Seattle Art Museum. If you're interested. Nathan felt something warm and bright expand in his chest. I'm very interested. Okay then. She squeezed his arm quickly, professionally, then moved to the next station. Nathan went back to his egg whites, folding them into his chocolate base with the gentle touch she'd taught him, and allowed himself to feel happy. Genuinely, uncomplicated happy. The soufflés went into the oven. 12 stations, 12 ramekins, 12 students holding their breath. 20 minutes, Veronica announced. And nobody opened that oven door. Not even a peek. Trust the process. Nathan's phone buzzed in his pocket. He'd been ignoring it all evening, but it buzzed again. And again. Then started ringing. He pulled it out, intending to silence it, but saw his CFO's name. Mark never called unless it was urgent. I need to take this, Nathan said quietly to the woman at the station next to him. Can you watch my soufflé? She nodded. He stepped into the small hallway outside the kitchen, answered the call. Mark, this better be important. Nathan, where are you? I've been trying to reach you for 2 hours. I'm in a class. What's wrong? Summit Technologies made an offer. They want to acquire us. The whole company. Nathan's stomach dropped. What? 3.8 billion. All cash. The board's been in emergency session since 4 p.m. They need you here. Now. Summit's been trying to acquire us for 3 years. We always say no. The board's not saying no this time. Henderson's pushing hard for it. Says it's the smart play. We take the money, everyone walks away rich. Richard Henderson. Board member. Venture capitalist. The man who'd been questioning Nathan's leadership for the past 6 months, ever since Nathan had started leaving the office at reasonable hours, started declining evening meetings, started acting like he had a life outside the company. I'll be there in 30 minutes, Nathan said. Make it 20 if you can. This is moving fast. Nathan ended the call and stood in the hallway, his mind racing. $3.8 billion. More money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes. Financial security beyond anything he'd imagined when he'd started the company 9 years ago. And all he could think about was the souffle in the oven and the fact that he was going to miss the end of class. He walked back into the kitchen. Veronica was at the demonstration station, talking about timing and temperature. She saw him, and something in his expression made her pause. I have to go, Nathan said quietly, stopping at his station. Work emergency. I'm sorry. The woman next to him waved him off. Don't worry about it. I'll handle your souffle. You sure? Go. Handle your emergency. Nathan grabbed his jacket, caught Veronica's eye across the room. She gave him a small nod, understanding but clearly disappointed. He left Hart's kitchen and drove downtown to his office building, his mind a mess of numbers and implications and the image of Veronica's face when he'd said he had to leave. The board meeting went until midnight. Henderson made his case. The offer was generous. The timing was right. Summit Technologies would keep most of the staff, maintain the Seattle headquarters, give Nathan a seat on their board if he wanted it. You'd walk away with over $1 billion personally, Henderson said, looking directly at Nathan. After taxes. You're 36 years old. You could retire. Do whatever you want with the rest of your life. I already do what I want, Nathan said. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you've been distracted lately. Missing meetings. Unavailable on Thursday evenings. Leaving early on Tuesdays. Maybe it's time to admit you're ready to move on. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Nathan felt anger rise in his throat, hot and sharp. My availability hasn't affected company performance. Our last quarter was our strongest on record. That's not the point. The point is Summit's offering us an exit that most startups only dream about. We'd be fools to turn it down out of pride. Nathan looked around the table. 8 board members. Half of them wouldn't meet his eyes. I need time to think, he said. We don't have time, Henderson pressed. Summit wants an answer by Monday. 5 days. Then I'll have an answer by Monday. Nathan left the meeting, drove home, and stood in his penthouse kitchen at 1 a.m., staring at the ingredients he'd bought for weekend cooking. Fresh vegetables. Good olive oil. A whole chicken he'd planned to roast using the technique Veronica had taught them in week 5. His phone rang. Veronica. Hey, he answered. I'm sorry about tonight. It's okay. Work happens. I get it. She paused. Your souffle was perfect, by the way. Full rise. Nice crust. The woman at your station said to tell you that you should be proud. Nathan smiled despite everything. I had a good teacher. You okay? You sound off. He wanted to tell her. About the offer. About Henderson's comments. About the fact that he was standing in his kitchen at 1 a.m. questioning everything he'd built over the past 9 years. But it felt too big. Too complicated. Too much for a relationship that was barely 6 weeks old. Just a long meeting, he said instead. Nothing I can't handle. You sure? Yeah. I'm sure. Still on for Tuesday? Of course. 6:15. And then the museum after? I'm looking forward to it. They talked for 20 more minutes. Easy conversation. She told him about the rest of class, about the student whose souffle had collapsed completely, about Jessica accidentally dropping a whole tray of ramekins. Normal things. Good things. When they hung up, Nathan felt steadier. He made himself risotto at 1:30 in the morning because the rhythm of it calmed him. Stir. Wait. Add. Stir. Wait. Add. By the time he went to bed at 3 a.m., he still didn't know what he was going to do about Summit's offer. Friday morning brought an unexpected complication. Nathan was in his office at 7 a.m., reviewing Summit's detailed proposal, when Patricia knocked on his door. Sorry to interrupt, but there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Her name is Monica Sterling. Nathan's blood went cold. Monica Sterling. His ex-wife. He hadn't seen her in 4 years, not since the divorce was finalized in March 2020. Send her in. Monica walked into his office looking exactly like she had when they'd separated. Polished. Professional. Beautiful in that careful, controlled way she'd always maintained. Nathan. You look good. Monica. What are you doing here? I heard about Summit's offer. Congratulations. Of course she'd heard. Monica worked in venture capital. She probably knew about the offer before his own board did. What do you want? Nathan asked, not bothering with pleasantries. I want to talk. About the offer. About what it means. It doesn't mean anything to you. We've been divorced for 4 years. Monica sat down in the chair across from his desk, uninvited. I know that. But I also know you, Nathan. And I know you're probably tying yourself in knots trying to decide what to do. I'm fine. Are you? Because the Nathan I knew would have jumped at this offer. 3.8 billion? That's validation. That's winning. But something's making you hesitate. Nathan said nothing. There's someone else, isn't there? Monica's smile was knowing. That's why Henderson's been complaining about your schedule. You've met someone. My personal life is none of your business. I'm not here to judge. I'm here because I want you to really think about what you're doing. She leaned forward. I left you because you chose this company over everything else. Over me. Over any possibility of a normal life. And now you have a chance to walk away with more money than we ever dreamed about, and you're hesitating because of what? A relationship that's probably a few months old at most? You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? Nathan, I know you. You build things. You're good at building things. You're terrible at maintaining them. Terrible at showing up day after day when things get routine and boring. How long do you think this new relationship is going to last once the excitement wears off? Get out. I'm trying to help you see clearly. Take the money. Take the win. Don't throw it away for something that's probably going to fall apart anyway. Monica. Get out. She stood slowly, smoothed her skirt. Think about what I said. You have until Monday to decide. Don't let sentiment cloud your judgment. She left, and Nathan sat at his desk feeling like he'd been punched in the stomach. Was she right? Was he being sentimental? Foolish? He'd known Veronica for 6 weeks. 6 weeks against 9 years of building his company. Against the financial security of $3.8 billion. His phone buzzed. A text from Veronica. Still thinking about you. Hope your Friday's better than your Thursday night was. Can't wait for Tuesday. Nathan stared at the message, and something Monica had said echoed in his head. How long until the excitement wears off? How long until you're terrible at showing up day after day? He'd failed at marriage once already. What made him think this would be different? The weekend passed in a blur of analysis. Nathan met with his financial advisors. His lawyers. His executive team. Everyone had an opinion. Take the money. Don't take the money. Think about your employees. Think about your legacy. Think about your future. Nobody told him to think about his heart. By Sunday evening, he still hadn't decided. Monday morning, October 28th. The day Summit needed his answer. Nathan woke up at 5 a.m., showered, dressed, and drove to his office. The board meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. At 8:30, his phone rang. His mother. Nathan, sweetheart. I heard about the offer. Mom, I can't talk right now. I'll be quick. Your father and I just want you to know we support whatever decision you make. But honey, when's the last time you were really happy? Nathan thought about Tuesday mornings. About cappuccinos with extra foam. About dark eyes and real laughter and the way Veronica said his name. Recently, he said quietly. I've been happy recently. Then don't let anyone take that away from you. Not for any amount of money. Okay? Okay, Mom. I love you. Call me when this is over. The board meeting started at 9 sharp. Henderson presented Summit's final terms. The offer had gone up. $4 billion now. They wanted an answer within the hour. We need to vote, Henderson said. All in favor of accepting Summit's offer? 5 hands went up. Including Henderson's. All opposed? 2 hands. Not including Nathan's. Everyone looked at him. Nathan, you're the deciding vote, Henderson said. What's it going to be? Nathan looked around the table at the people who'd helped him build this company. People who'd believed in his vision. People who deserved their piece of this success. He thought about financial security. About never having to worry about money again. About the freedom $4 billion would buy. He thought about Monica's words. About being terrible at maintaining things. He thought about Veronica's hands showing him how to fold egg whites. About her voice talking about delicate conversations. About building something that lasted. I vote no, Nathan said. The room erupted. Henderson's face went red. Other board members started talking over each other. You're making a mistake, Henderson said. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. This is about that woman, isn't it? The one you've been seeing? Nathan stood. This meeting is over. Summit gets a polite no. We continue building the company. And Henderson? If you don't like it, there's the door. Nathan walked out of the conference room, his heart pounding. His phone was already buzzing with messages. Patricia was calling his name. But all he could think about was getting to Hart's kitchen. It was 10:30 Monday morning. Class wasn't until Thursday. But he needed to see Veronica. Needed to tell her what he'd done. Needed to know if he just made the biggest mistake of his life or the smartest decision. He drove to Capitol Hill, parked illegally in front of Hart's Kitchen, and walked in through the front door. Jessica looked up from the reception desk, surprised. Nathan? There's no class today. I know. Is Veronica here? She's in the kitchen. But we're in the middle of lunch prep and she's... Nathan didn't wait. He pushed through into the main kitchen. Veronica was at the stove, chef's whites on, hair up, focused completely on whatever she was cooking. 2 other cooks worked at stations behind her. She looked up when he entered. Surprise flickered across her face. Nathan? What are you doing here? I needed to see you. I'm working. We've got 12 orders up and I just turned down $4 billion. The kitchen went quiet. Even the other cooks stopped what they were doing. Veronica stared at him. What? There was an offer. To buy my company. $4 billion. And I said no. Why? Nathan moved closer. Because 6 weeks ago I didn't know how to cook risotto. I didn't know what I was working for. I was building an empire but I didn't have a life. And then I met you, and now I know what matters. And it's not the money. It's not the company. It's this. It's you. It's Tuesday mornings and Thursday evenings and the way you teach me patience. It's wanting to build something real instead of just something successful. Veronica set down her spoon slowly. Nathan, that's a lot of money. I know. That's life-changing money. I know. And you turned it down because of me? I turned it down because of us. Because I want there to be an US. Because I'm in love with you, Veronica. And I know it's only been 6 weeks and maybe that's crazy, but I've spent 4 years being practical and safe and it got me nothing but lonely. So I'm done being practical. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you. The kitchen was silent. Veronica stood there in her chef's whites with her wooden spoon in one hand, and Nathan could see emotions flickering across her face too fast to name. You're in love with me, she said quietly. Yes. After 6 weeks. Yes. That's not enough time to know. It's enough time for me. Veronica looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned to the other cooks. Take over lunch service. I need a minute. She pulled Nathan into her small office off the main kitchen and closed the door. Nathan, what you just did was incredibly romantic and incredibly stupid. I know. You can't make decisions like that based on a relationship that barely exists yet. It exists. We exist. We've had 6 coffee dates and 6 cooking classes. That's not a foundation for turning down $4 billion. Nathan felt something cold settle in his chest. What are you saying? I'm saying this is too much. Too fast. Too intense. Veronica ran her hands over her face. My mom warned me about this. About getting involved with someone who doesn't understand what they want. Who makes big gestures without thinking them through. I did think it through. Did you? Or did you just decide that I'm some kind of prize worth winning? Some proof that you've changed your life? That's not what this is. Isn't it? Her voice was gentle but firm. Nathan, you turned down $4 billion. For me. After 6 weeks. What happens in 6 months when you realize what you gave up? When you resent me for it? That won't happen. You don't know that. Neither of us knows that. Nathan felt the foundation shifting under his feet. Veronica, please. Just tell me you feel the same way. Tell me this isn't just me. She looked at him with those dark eyes he'd fallen in love with, and he saw pain there. Conflict. Fear. I care about you, she said quietly. So much. But Nathan, I can't be the reason you blow up your life. I can't carry that weight. What if we don't work out? What if you wake up a year from now and realize you made a terrible mistake? What if I don't? I need you to leave. I have a lunch service to run, and I can't think straight with you standing here telling me you love me after 6 weeks and $4 billion. Veronica. Please, Nathan. Just go. Let me think. Let us both think. Nathan stood there, everything inside him screaming to fight harder, to convince her, to make her see. But she'd asked him to leave. So he did. He walked out of her office, through the kitchen where the other cooks pretended not to watch, out through the dining area, past Jessica's concerned face, and onto the street. It was starting to rain. Nathan sat in his car and realized he might have just lost both the company and the girl in the same morning. His phone rang. Henderson. The board wants you out, Nathan. You'll have our formal vote by end of day. Nathan ended the call without responding. He sat in the rain and thought about soufflés. About how they rose and fell. About how delicate everything was. About how easily things broke when you weren't careful enough. And he wondered if Monica had been right all along. Maybe he was terrible at maintaining things. Maybe he'd just proven it. The board voted Nathan out on Tuesday morning, October 29, 2024. He was sitting in his penthouse at 6:15 a.m., staring at his phone, waiting for a text from Veronica that never came. Their standing Tuesday coffee date. She hadn't canceled. She just hadn't shown up. The email from his board came through at 6:47. Effective immediately, Nathan Miller was no longer CEO of the company he'd founded 9 years ago. He'd remain on the board in an advisory capacity. He'd keep his shares. But Henderson was taking over as interim CEO, and Summit Technologies was back at the table. Nathan read the email 3 times and felt nothing. He'd turned down $4 billion and lost the company anyway. He'd told Veronica he loved her and she'd asked him to leave. He sat in his kitchen, the kitchen that finally had food in it, that finally looked lived in, and wondered when exactly he'd become the kind of person who destroyed everything he touched. His phone rang. His mother. "Nathan, honey, I heard. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom. You don't sound fine." "I made my choice. I stand by it." "What about Veronica? Have you talked to her?" Nathan looked at his phone. No messages. No missed calls. Nothing. Not since yesterday. "Maybe you should go see her. She asked me to give her space to think. I'm giving her space. Sometimes space is the last thing people actually need." His mother's voice was gentle. "Sometimes they need to know you're not going anywhere." After he hung up, Nathan sat with that thought. Not going anywhere. He'd spent 4 years after his divorce going everywhere, into work, into building, into anything that kept him moving forward. Never stopping. Never staying still. Maybe that was the problem. The week crawled by. Nathan didn't go to his former office. Didn't attend the emergency meetings Henderson called. Didn't respond to the emails from board members who suddenly wanted to know if he was okay. He cooked. Wednesday, he made the pasta from week 2. Fresh fettuccine, rolled out by hand, the dough coming together under his palms exactly the way Veronica had taught him. He made carbonara sauce, eggs and cheese and pasta water, the emulsion forming perfectly because he remembered her voice saying patience, not heat, makes the sauce. He ate alone at his kitchen island. Thursday came. Week 8. The final cooking class. Nathan stared at his calendar. 7 p.m. Hart's Kitchen. The last class. The graduation, Veronica had called it at the beginning. They'd be making a full 3-course meal, showcasing everything they'd learned. He didn't know if he should go. She hadn't called. Hadn't texted. 3 days of silence that felt like 3 years. But she also hadn't told him not to come. At 6:45, Nathan made a decision. He got dressed, grabbed his car keys, and drove to Capitol Hill. He parked 3 blocks away, like always. Walked through the October evening, rain misting down, the city smelling like wet pavement and coffee and possibility. He stood outside Hart's Kitchen for 5 full minutes, watching through the windows. The other students were already there, laughing, setting up their stations. Jessica was at the front desk. Veronica was at the demonstration station, arranging ingredients. She looked tired. There were shadows under her eyes that hadn't been there last week. Nathan's hand was on the door handle when he saw her look up. Their eyes met through the glass. She didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. He went inside. "Nathan." Jessica's voice was carefully neutral. "Wasn't sure we'd see you tonight. Couldn't miss the last class." He walked into the kitchen. Took his usual station, 3rd from the left, back row. The woman who'd been at the station next to him for 7 weeks gave him a small, encouraging smile. "Glad you're here," she whispered. "Your soufflé last week was perfect, even if you weren't here to see it." Veronica began the class without looking directly at him. "Tonight's our final session," she said, and her voice was steady, professional. "We're doing a 3-course meal. Salad with homemade vinaigrette. Pan-seared salmon with beurre blanc. Chocolate mousse. Everything we've learned comes together tonight." She demonstrated each component. Her hands moved with their usual confidence, but Nathan could see the tension in her shoulders. The way she gripped her whisk a little too tightly. "You have 2 hours," she said. "Work at your own pace. I'll come around to each station. Let's make this final meal something to remember." The class began cooking. Nathan started with his vinaigrette, whisking oil into vinegar, watching the emulsion form. Muscle memory now. His hands knew what to do. Veronica moved through the stations, offering guidance, answering questions. She skipped his station on her first round. And her second. By the 3rd round, Nathan was searing his salmon, the skin crackling perfectly in the hot pan. She appeared at his elbow. "Temperature's good," she said quietly, not quite looking at him. "Remember to baste with the butter." "I remember." She started to move away. "Veronica." She stopped but didn't turn back. "I'm sorry," Nathan said, keeping his voice low enough that only she could hear. "For showing up at your kitchen like that. For putting that pressure on you. For making this about grand gestures instead of just being honest about how I feel." She was quiet for a moment. Then, still not looking at him, "Your salmon's going to overcook if you don't flip it." Nathan flipped his salmon. Veronica moved to the next station. The 2 hours passed. Nathan plated his 3 courses with care. The salad with its vinaigrette that actually emulsified. The salmon, perfectly medium, with a beurre blanc sauce that hadn't broken. The chocolate mousse, smooth and rich and exactly the right texture. He looked at his plates and thought about all the ways cooking had changed him. The patience it required. The attention. The willingness to start over when things broke. The class gathered around the center table for the final tasting. 12 students, 12 three-course meals. Veronica moved between them, tasting, offering final words of encouragement and praise. When she got to Nathan's station, she took her time. Tasted each course carefully. "This is excellent work," she said, and her voice had that teacher quality to it, professional and boundaried. "You should be proud of how far you've come in 8 weeks. I had a good teacher. You were a dedicated student." Past tense. Were. Not are. Nathan felt something crack in his chest. Class ended at 9:30. Students lingered, taking photos, exchanging contact information, hugging Veronica, and thanking her. Nathan cleaned his station slowly, methodically, the way he'd done for 8 weeks. One by one, the other students left. Jessica said goodnight. The kitchen emptied. Until it was just Nathan and Veronica. She was wiping down the main counter, her back to him. "You don't have to stay," she said. "I know." "Then why are you?" Nathan set down the dish towel he'd been holding. "Because I need to know if this is really over. If us is really done. Or if you're just scared." Veronica's shoulders tensed. "Don't do that. Don't make this about me being scared." "Aren't you?" She turned to face him then, and he saw something raw in her expression. "Of course I'm scared, Nathan. You turned down $4 billion. For me. After 6 weeks. That's terrifying." "Why?" "Because what happens when you wake up and realize what you gave up? When the romance wears off and you're left with the reality that you destroyed your career for a woman you barely know. I know you. You don't. Not really. You know 6 weeks of Tuesday mornings and Thursday evenings. You don't know me when I'm stressed and mean. When I'm so tired I can't think straight. When my business is struggling and I take it out on everyone around me. You don't know the reality of me." Nathan moved closer. "So let me learn. Let me know all of it. The good and the hard and everything in between. And what if it's not enough? What if 6 months from now, you look at me and think about that $4 billion and hate me for it? That won't happen. You can't promise that." "You're right. I can't promise the future. Nobody can." Nathan stopped a few feet from her. "But I can promise that I didn't turn down that money because of some romantic notion. I turned it down because I was building the wrong thing. I was so focused on the empire that I forgot to build a life. And yeah, meeting you made me see that. But Veronica, you didn't make me do anything. You just helped me see what I actually wanted. Which is what? A life that matters. Work that means something. Relationships that are real. And yes, you. I want you. Not as some prize or proof that I've changed. Just you. Exactly as you are." Veronica's eyes were shining. "Nathan, I've spent 6 years building this place. It's barely profitable. I'm constantly stressed about making rent. My mom thinks I should have married some nice guy years ago and had babies by now. I don't have billions of dollars. I don't have anything close to the life you're used to. I don't want the life I'm used to. That's the whole point. What do you want? I want Tuesday morning coffee dates. I want to learn how to make every dish you know how to teach. I want to meet your mom and have her interrogate me about my intentions. I want to help you with this place if you'll let me. I want to build something real with you, even if it's messy and complicated and doesn't come with any guarantees." A tear slipped down Veronica's cheek. She wiped it away impatiently. "This is crazy," she said. "Maybe. But the sanest thing I did in 4 years was walk into this kitchen 8 weeks ago. The sanest decision I've made was choosing this over money that would have just made me a richer version of the same lonely person." "What about your company? Your board fired you." "They did. And I'm okay with it. I'll figure out what comes next. Maybe I'll start something new. Maybe I'll invest in other people's dreams for a while. Maybe I'll take some time and just learn to live instead of just build." He took a breath. "But whatever I do, I want to do it with you. If you'll have me." Veronica stood there in her chef's whites with tears on her cheeks and something like hope fighting with fear in her eyes. "I'm falling in love with you too," she whispered. "That's what scares me. I'm falling and I don't know how to trust that you'll be there to catch me. So we fall together. And we figure it out as we go. That's not a plan. No. It's better than a plan. It's a promise. I promise to show up, Veronica. Every Tuesday morning. Every Thursday evening. Every single day you'll let me. I promise to stay when things get hard instead of running to work. I promise to learn the reality of you and love that even more than these first 6 weeks. I promise to build something lasting instead of just something successful." She was crying openly now. "What if I mess this up? What if I'm so focused on keeping this business afloat that I'm terrible at being in a relationship? Then we'll figure that out too. Together. The same way you taught me to make risotto. Little by little. Staying present. Trusting the process." Veronica laughed through her tears. "You're using my own cooking metaphors against me. I learned from the best. She stood there for another moment, and Nathan could see the war happening inside her. Fear versus hope. Safety versus risk. The known versus the possible. Then she moved, crossed the space between them and kissed him. Her lips were soft and sure and tasted like chocolate from the mousse she'd been sampling. Her hands came up to frame his face, and Nathan wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her back like he was making a promise. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Veronica rested her forehead against his. "If we do this," she said, "we do it right. No more grand gestures. No more showing up at my kitchen in the middle of lunch service with declarations. We take it slow. We build it properly. Like good cooking. With patience and attention and trust. Whatever you need. I need you to understand that this business comes first sometimes. That I'm going to have long days and stress nights and moments where I'm not easy to be with. I can handle that. And I need to meet your mom. Properly. Not some casual thing. A real dinner where she can decide if I'm good enough for her son." Nathan smiled. "She's going to love you. You don't know that. Ido. Because I love you, and she wants me to be happy, and you make me happier than I've been in years." Veronica pulled back enough to look at him properly. "Say that again." "Which part?" "The I love you part." "I love you, Veronica Hart. I love your patience and your teaching and the way you make everything about cooking also about life. I love how you care about your students. I love that you call your mom every Sunday. I love that you took a risk 6 years ago and built something beautiful. I love all of it. All of you." She kissed him again, softer this time. "I love you too, Nathan Miller. Even though you're stubborn and you make impulsive decisions and you turn down $4 billion after knowing me for 6 weeks. Especially because of that last part? Maybe a little because of that last part." She smiled against his lips. It was kind of romantic. In a completely terrifying way. They stood there in the quiet kitchen, holding each other, and Nathan thought about all the things he'd learned in 8 weeks. How to make risotto. How to fold egg whites. How to trust the process. How to choose the right thing even when it looked like the wrong thing from the outside. How to fall in love. "So what happens now?" Veronica asked. "Now we take it one day at a time. I show up on Tuesday morning for coffee. You decide if you want to have dinner with me on Saturday. We build this thing properly, like you said. With patience and attention. What about your company? Henderson and the board. Let them have it. I'm done fighting for something I don't actually want anymore. I'll figure out what comes next. But right now, all I want is to be here with you." Veronica nodded slowly. "Okay. One day at a time. Starting with Saturday dinner?" "Starting with Saturday dinner." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "But right now, I need to finish cleaning this kitchen, and you need to go home and get some sleep. You look exhausted." "I am exhausted. I've had a complicated week." "Me too." She squeezed his hands. "But I'm glad you came tonight. I'm glad you didn't give up." "I'm not giving up on this, Veronica. On us. Whatever happens with the company or the money or anything else, I'm not giving up on us." She walked him to the door. Kissed him one more time in the doorway, slow and sweet and full of promise. "Tuesday morning," she said. 6:15. "Don't be late. I'm never late for you." Nathan walked to his car through the October rain, and for the first time in days, he felt like he could breathe properly. He'd lost his company. Lost $4 billion. Lost the career he'd spent 9 years building. But he'd found something better. He'd found Veronica. He'd found himself. And maybe that was worth more than all the money in the world. Saturday came. Nathan picked Veronica up at her apartment at 7 p.m. She wore a dark green dress that made her skin glow, and when she opened the door, Nathan forgot how to form words for a solid 10 seconds. "You clean up nice," she said, taking in his dark suit. "So do you. You look beautiful." Flatterer. Honest person. They went to a small Italian place in Fremont that Veronica knew. Sat at a corner table and talked for 3 hours. About everything. His divorce. Her failed relationships. His complicated relationship with success. Her dreams for expanding Hart's Kitchen someday. His mother's early morning call habit. Her Sunday phone calls with her mom. They talked like people who were planning to know each other for a long time. When Nathan dropped her off at midnight, she kissed him goodnight and said, "I want you to meet my mom. Next Sunday. If you're ready for that." "I'm ready for anything with you." "Good. Because Diana Hart doesn't hold back. She's going to ask you about your intentions and your financial stability and whether you're serious about her daughter." "My intentions are honorable. My financial stability is complicated but still solid. And I'm very serious about her daughter." Veronica smiled. "Then I'll tell her to set an extra plate for Sunday dinner." Nathan drove home thinking about Sunday dinners and Tuesday mornings and building something that lasted. He'd spent 9 years building an empire. Now he was learning to build a life. And somehow, the life felt bigger than the empire ever had. More real. More right. More like coming home. Sunday, November 3rd, 2024. Nathan stood outside Veronica's childhood home in the Rainier Valley neighborhood of Seattle, holding a bouquet of flowers and trying not to feel like a teenager meeting his girlfriend's parents for the first time. He was 36 years old. He'd negotiated billion-dollar deals. He'd presented to boardrooms full of skeptical investors. He'd built a company from nothing. But meeting Diana Hart terrified him. Veronica squeezed his hand. "You're going to be fine. Just be yourself." "What if she hates me?" "She's not going to hate you. She's going to interrogate you, yes. But she's not going to hate you." The door opened before they could knock. Diana Hart stood there, 58 years old, with the same warm brown skin as her daughter and eyes that saw everything. "So you're the man who's got my Veronica smiling like that," she said. "Yes, ma'am. Nathan Miller. It's wonderful to meet you." Diana took the flowers, gave him a thorough once-over, then stepped aside. "Come in. Dinner's almost ready." The house smelled like heaven. Fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread. Nathan's stomach growled despite his nerves. "Mama, you didn't have to make a feast," Veronica said. "When my daughter finally brings a man home for the first time in 3 years, I make a feast." Diana disappeared into the kitchen. "Nathan, you come help me set the table." "Veronica, you stay out of my kitchen." Veronica gave him an encouraging smile as he followed Diana into the small, warmly lit kitchen. "You know how to set a table properly?" Diana asked, handing him plates. "Yes, ma'am. My mother insisted on proper table settings." "Good. I like your mother already." Diana started pulling serving dishes from the oven. "So, tech company. Veronica says you recently had some career changes." "That's one way to put it. I was asked to step down as CEO of the company I founded." "Asked or forced?" "Forced, if we're being honest." Diana nodded, stirring her greens. "And how do you feel about that?" "Honestly? Relieved. I'd built something successful but I wasn't happy. I was just busy." "There's a difference." "There is indeed." She glanced at him. "My daughter tells me you turned down a lot of money." "4 billion, she said." "Yes, ma'am. That's a foolish amount of money to turn down." "It probably was." "Probably." Diana raised an eyebrow. "You're not sure?" Nathan set down the plates. "I'm sure I made the right choice for me. Whether it was smart financially is another question. But I've learned that being rich and being happy aren't the same thing." Wise words from a young man. Diana pulled the chicken from the oven. "You love my daughter?" "Very much." "After what, 2 months?" 6 weeks when I told her. 3 months now. And yes, I know that's fast. But I'm 36 years old, Mrs. Hart. I've been married before. I know what it feels like to be with someone out of obligation or convenience. This isn't that. Veronica makes me want to be better. Present. Real." Diana studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "Call me Diana. And help me carry these dishes to the table." Dinner was wonderful. They talked about everything. Nathan's childhood in Portland. Diana's career as a nurse before she retired. Veronica's culinary school days. The early struggles of Hart's Kitchen. "She almost gave up, you know," Diana said, passing Nathan the cornbread. "That first year. She was barely making rent. I told her to come home, get a regular job. But she's stubborn. Like her father was." "He passed away 3 years ago," Veronica said quietly to Nathan. 2021, heart attack. "I'm sorry," Nathan said, looking at Diana. "Thank you. He would have liked you. Marcus always appreciated people who took risks for the right reasons." Diana's eyes were soft with memory. "He took a risk on me. I was 22, he was 24. Everyone said we were too young. We had 40 good years before his heart gave out. No regrets." After dinner, Nathan helped with dishes while Veronica and Diana sat at the kitchen table talking. He listened to them, the easy rhythm of their conversation, and felt something settle in his chest. This was what he wanted. Not empire building. Not billion-dollar deals. Just this. Real people. Real connection. Real life. When they left at 9 p.m., Diana hugged Veronica tight, then surprised Nathan by hugging him too. "You take care of my girl," she said. "I will. I promise." "And Nathan? The fact that you turned down all that money? That tells me your heart's in the right place. Just don't make her regret that you did." "I won't." In the car, Veronica leaned her head on Nathan's shoulder. "She likes you." "How can you tell?" "She hugged you." "Mama doesn't hug people she doesn't like." "Well, I like her too. She's wonderful." "She is." Veronica was quiet for a moment. "Thank you for being so good with her. For being patient with her questions. She loves you. She wants to make sure I'm worth your time. I respect that." Veronica kissed his cheek. "You are. Worth my time. Just so you know." November passed in a blur of contentment. Nathan and Veronica fell into a rhythm. Tuesday morning coffee dates. Thursday evening dinners after her evening prep was done. Saturday date nights. Sunday afternoon walks around Green Lake. Nathan started consulting with small tech startups, helping them build sustainable businesses instead of just chasing growth. It was satisfying in ways his own company never had been. He was making less money but felt richer. He also started spending time at Heart's Kitchen. Not as a student. As a helper. Chopping vegetables for lunch prep. Washing dishes. Learning the business side from Veronica. "You don't have to do this," she said one afternoon in mid-November as they prepped for a catering event. "I know. I want to." "Why?" Nathan looked up from the onions he was dicing. "Because I want to understand your world. What matters to you. What you've built. And because helping you feels better than anything I did at my own company." Veronica set down her knife and kissed him. "I love you. I love you too. Even when I'm stressed and bossy in the kitchen? Especially then." By late November, Nathan had effectively moved his life into the rhythms of Heart's Kitchen. He'd sold his penthouse, too big, too cold, too much like the old life he didn't want anymore. He rented a smaller place in Capitol Hill, walking distance from the restaurant. His mother called it a midlife crisis. Nathan called it finally growing up. Thanksgiving came. Veronica closed Heart's Kitchen for the day and they had dinner at Diana's house. Nathan's mother drove up from Portland to join them, and watching the two mothers bond over embarrassing stories about him and Veronica made Nathan's heart full in ways he couldn't articulate. "Your mom's great," Veronica said that night as they walked home through the November cold. "She likes you. Told me not to mess this up." "Good advice." "I don't plan to." They walked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Nathan said, "I've been thinking about something." "Oh? That's never good." "I'm serious. I've been thinking about what's next. For me. For work. And, what if I invested in Heart's Kitchen? Real investment. Enough to expand. Maybe open a second location. Build out the catering business. Whatever you've been dreaming about but couldn't afford." Veronica stopped walking. "Nathan, no. Hear me out. No. I'm not taking your money. That's not what this is about. It's not charity. It's a real investment. You'd maintain full creative control. I'd be a silent partner. Or a very loud dishwasher. Whatever you need." "Nathan. Veronica, you're barely breaking even. You work 70-hour weeks. You're stressed about rent every month. Let me help. Not because you need saving. Because I believe in what you've built and I want to be part of growing it." She looked at him for a long moment. "This isn't about the money I cost you, is it? You're not trying to make up for turning down Summit's offer?" "No. This is about wanting to invest in something that matters. In someone I love. In a business that actually feeds people and teaches them and creates community. That's worth more to me than any tech company." Veronica's eyes filled with tears. "You really mean that?" "Every word." "I need to think about it. Talk to my accountant. Make sure the terms are fair. Whatever terms you want. I trust you." She kissed him there on the sidewalk in Capitol Hill, and Nathan thought about all the ways love could look. Sometimes it was grand gestures. Sometimes it was showing up for Tuesday morning coffee. Sometimes it was washing dishes in someone else's kitchen. Sometimes it was believing in their dream as much as they did. December arrived cold and clear. Nathan and Veronica had been together for 3 months. It felt like longer. It felt like no time at all. On December 15th, Nathan took Veronica to the Seattle Art Museum, the exhibit they'd planned back in October but never made it to. They wandered through galleries hand in hand, and Nathan watched her get lost in paintings the way she got lost in cooking. "You see that," she said, pointing to a particular piece. "The way the artist built up the layers? That's how good cooking works too. Layer upon layer of flavor. Each one matters. Everything's about cooking with you. Everything worth doing requires the same principles. Patience. Attention. Care. Whether it's painting or cooking or relationships." Nathan squeezed her hand. "Is that what we're doing? Building layers?" "I think so. I think we're building something good." They had dinner at a small French bistro after the museum. Over dessert, Nathan pulled out an envelope. "What's this?" Veronica asked. "Open it." Inside was a check. Made out to Heart's Kitchen LLC. For $200,000. Veronica stared at it. "Nathan, this is too much. It's the right amount for what you need. New equipment. First and last month's rent on a second location if you want it. Marketing budget. Hiring another full-time cook so you're not working every single shift. I can't accept this." "You can. I had my lawyer draw up partnership papers. You maintain 70% ownership. I get 30%. You get full creative control. I get to wash dishes and chop vegetables and watch you build your empire." "My empire? Everyone should have one. Yours just happens to feed people instead of extracting value from them." Veronica set down the check with shaking hands. "You've really thought this through." "I have. But if you say no, I respect that. The offer stands regardless. No pressure." She looked at him across the table, and Nathan saw a dozen emotions flicker across her face. Fear, hope, gratitude, love. 70-30 split, she finally said. 70-30. Your business. Your vision. I'm just the money and the labor. And full creative control? Completely. And you're okay being a silent partner? I'm okay being whatever kind of partner you need. Silent. Loud. Somewhere in between. Veronica picked up the check again. Stared at it. This could change everything. That's the idea. Nathan Miller, are you trying to sweep me off my feet with business investments? Is it working? She laughed, and there were tears in her eyes. Yeah, it's working. They celebrated New Year's Eve 2025 at Diana's house with Nathan's mother. As midnight approached, they all stood in Diana's backyard despite the cold, watching fireworks over the city. What are we toasting to? Diana asked, raising her glass of champagne. New beginnings, Nathan's mother said. Second chances, Diana added. Love, Veronica said, looking at Nathan. All of it, Nathan said. Every single bit. The fireworks burst overhead in gold and silver. Veronica kissed him at midnight, and Nathan thought about how much had changed in 4 months. He'd lost a company. Gained a life. Let go of billions. Found something priceless. Stopped building an empire. Started building a home. January brought real winter to Seattle. Rain turned to occasional snow. Hart's kitchen stayed busy. Nathan and Veronica worked on expansion plans together, late nights at her small office, talking about second locations and cooking class expansions and dreams that felt possible now. On January 25, 2025, 5 months to the day since Nathan had first walked into Hart's kitchen, he took Veronica back to Slate Coffee Roasters. Their spot. 6:15 in the morning. Same table they'd sat at for their first coffee date. Why are we here so early? Veronica asked, yawning. It's Saturday. I actually got to sleep in. Because I wanted to come back to where we started. When it was just Tuesday morning coffee and possibility. That was a good morning. They've all been good mornings with you. Nathan reached across the table and took her hands. Veronica, I know it's only been 5 months. I know that's fast. But I also know what I want. And I want this. I want you. I want Tuesday morning coffee dates when we're 70. I want to help you build Hart's Kitchen into something amazing. I want Sunday dinners with our moms. I want all of it. Nathan, what are you saying? He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Opened it. Inside was a simple ring. A single diamond on a gold band. Classic. Timeless. Real. I'm saying marry me. Not today. Not next month. Whenever you're ready. But marry me, Veronica. Build this life with me. Teach me patience and presence and how to make the perfect risotto for the rest of our lives. Veronica stared at the ring, tears streaming down her face. 5 months, she whispered. I know. That's crazy. I know. My mama's going to say we're rushing. Probably. Your mom too, definitely. Veronica looked up at him, and she was smiling through her tears. Ask me again. Veronica Hart, will you marry me? Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Nathan slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her as the Saturday morning sun rose over Capitol Hill. Other coffee shop patrons started clapping. Someone whistled. Veronica laughed and cried and held up her hand to see the ring in the light. When did you decide this? She asked. About 5 minutes after I met you. Took me 4.5 months to be sure I wasn't crazy. And are you? Sure you're not crazy? Completely sure. You're it for me, Veronica. You're what all the success was supposed to lead to. The point of it all. That's a lot of pressure. That's just the truth. They sat there until 8 a.m., drinking coffee, making plans, calling their mothers who both cried and said they knew this was coming. Diana was thrilled. Nathan's mother was delighted. They made plans for engagement dinners and started talking about spring weddings. Not too big, Veronica said. I don't want a circus. Whatever you want. Big. Small. Just us and our moms. Anything. What do you want? Nathan thought about it. I want everyone who matters. Our moms. Close friends. Maybe we do it at Hart's Kitchen. Catered by you, obviously. I'm not cooking at my own wedding. Fair point. We hire the best caterer in Seattle. After you. Flatterer. Honest man who's marrying the woman he loves. They set a date for late March. Spring in Seattle. Cherry blossoms and new beginnings. The next 2 months were a blur of planning and work and joy. Nathan's investment in Hart's Kitchen started paying immediate dividends. They hired 2 new cooks. Upgraded equipment. Started looking at second locations. Veronica still worked long hours, but Nathan was there. Chopping vegetables. Washing dishes. Learning her business from the inside out. You don't have to do this, she said one February evening, finding him elbow-deep in soapy water. I like it here. With you. Doing this. You could be running another company. Making billions. I could be. But I'd rather be here making sure your kitchen stays running. There's no amount of money worth missing this. She kissed him, soap suds and all. I love you, Nathan Miller. I love you, Veronica Hart. Soon to be Veronica Miller. Or Veronica Hart Miller. Even better. March arrived with unexpected sunshine. Their wedding day, March 29, 2025, was 70 degrees and clear. A miracle for Seattle. They married in the courtyard behind Hart's kitchen, strung with lights and filled with flowers. 50 people. Both mothers crying in the front row. Veronica wore a simple ivory dress. Nathan wore a dark suit. When Veronica walked down the makeshift aisle, Nathan felt his throat close up with emotion. She was so beautiful it hurt to look at her. Hey, she whispered when she reached him. Hey yourself. You look incredible. You clean up nice too. The ceremony was short. Personal vows. Promises to show up. To stay present. To build something lasting. I promise to make you risotto when you're sad, Nathan said, and everyone laughed. I promise to teach you patience, even when you drive me crazy, Veronica replied. They exchanged rings. Kissed as husband and wife. And Nathan thought about how 5 months ago he'd been standing in the same kitchen, learning to make hollandaise, having no idea his entire life was about to change. At the reception, Diana toasted them. To my daughter, who taught a billionaire that the best things in life don't have price tags. And to Nathan, who was smart enough to learn the lesson. Nathan's mother added, to love that's worth more than money. To risks that pay off. To my son, who finally figured out what matters. As the sun set over Seattle and string lights glowed in the courtyard, Nathan danced with his wife. His wife. Veronica Hart Miller. Happy, she asked. Ridiculously happy. No regrets about the 4 billion? Not even a little bit. I got something better. What's that? You. This. A life that actually means something. Veronica rested her head on his shoulder. We did good, didn't we? Built something real. We did. And we're just getting started. They danced until late, surrounded by people they loved, in the courtyard of the kitchen where it all began. And Nathan thought about everything he'd learned in 8 weeks of cooking classes. Patience. Presence. Trust. The willingness to start over when things broke. Most importantly, he'd learned that the best things in life couldn't be rushed. They had to be built slowly. Layer by layer. With attention and care and love. Just like perfect risotto. Just like a life worth living. Just like the woman in his arms who taught him how to finally come home. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more.